Hello, it's me again, Neil, your property coach, and I'm sitting in Johannesburg. Lovely summer's afternoon, and I'm done here. I'm going to go back in and watch the cricket. But before I do so, I just want to share something with you. This is this. I'm doing a series on the secrets of the wealthy, and it's my objective to actually share as many of these secrets as possible to just get more of you making some money, and uh, and bringing annuity income in. So before I go any further, please, if you've got any questions, just type them in below, and I'll try and deal with them right here in this video. And if it's, if the subject warrants it, I'll actually do a whole video on your question. So please go for it. Ask me anything you want to about property investment and so forth, and I'll do my best to answer it. For those of you joining, welcome. I see Warren's joined me again. He always joins me when I do a video. Warren, just shout if the sound quality is bad or something like that, so I can deal with it. But let me get stuck in. Firstly, before we even get started, if you want help with property investment, please go to organicgrowth.co.za/coach. There's a link actually above here, and we'll see if we can help you. All right. So today, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story that really got me going. In the year 2002. Oh, sorry, I haven't told you the title of this video yet. It's how my tenants paid for my children's education, and it's not a lie, it's not a fabrication. It's actually, I'm going to tell it exactly how it happened. I've even got some numbers jotted down here to keep me honest. So back in 2002, my daughters were about 11, 12 years old. And I bought two townhouses in Morningside. They were one-bedroom townhouses, and I got a bit of a good deal. They were worth about 170,000 at the time, and I paid 130. I happen to know a developer who was getting rid of his whole portfolio, and I just picked two units. So I paid 130,000 rand for them each, and that is including all bond and transfer costs. So in 2002, the interest rate was a bit higher than it is now. So my bond repayments were 1,600 rand per month, and my levies were 400, which comes to a total cost of 2,000 a month, and my rental was 2,300. So from day one, I was cash flow positive. My tenant was covering the bond and all the costs, and it was all nice. And at that point, I hadn't for a moment thought that I was going to use these properties for my daughter's education. I was just getting into the whole buy-to-let scene. These are I think my second and third properties that I bought. So each year what happens is the rental goes up, the levy goes up, but not so much. It's like 8 or 10% of a smaller amount. The rental's 8 or 10% of a bigger amount. So the gap between your rent, your levy and your rental just goes up each year. And traditionally your bond repayment should stay about level. But actually, we scored well, because in the early 2000s, the interest rate came down from 17, 18% down to about 7 or 8%. So effectively, my bond repayment halved. But even if it had stayed the same, the same would apply. The principle would apply. And what happened is, about 7 or 8 years later, when my daughters got to university age, the properties that I paid 130,000 rand for were oh, I've got WhatsApps coming through. Sorry about that. My unit that I paid 130,000 rand for was suddenly worth about 500,000, and my rental had gone up. So I could take a 300,000 rand second bond. I see Sita is asking me a question. Sita, I'll get your answer just now. I'll answer your question just now. She's asking, can I get the same situation as today, where property cash flow is positive from day one? I'll deal with it just now. Let me just finish my story. So what happened was, in 5 years' time, 5 or 6 years' time, I took out a second bond of 300,000 rand. So what I did effectively is I brought the bond repayments up to the level of the rental income. So it's still cash flow neutral, or just, in fact, it's slightly positive. But the result was it didn't cost me anything, and I had 300,000 rand that I could. And now it's tax-free money because you borrowed it, you haven't earned it, and I gave it to my daughter, and I said to her, "There's your scholarship." And 300,000 rand was enough to pay for 4 years of university, 4 years of res fees, and 4 years of pocket money. And then a year or so later, my second daughter did a wildlife conservation degree, and I did the same thing with her. So I ended up with, I'm sitting now in 2019, and I've got two daughters who got their degrees, paid for, and when they finished their varsity, their friends had these huge student loans to pay off, and my daughters were free. In fact, we had a situation where the townhouse is now worth about, today the townhouse is worth about 900,000, maybe a million, and the bond on that property is about 400,000, and we got a degree out of it. So this is real. This is actually real. It happened, and I joke about it and say my tenant paid for my children's education, but it's actually what happened. And then I realized this is a good thing. So 11 years ago, I had a son, and I thought, let me do the same for my boy. So being a boy and my first son, I bought a bachelor unit in Bryanston, and tiny little unit, literally, I think it's 36 square meters, which is about the same size as a double garage, but it's a bachelor unit, and for the location, it's perfect. It's a perfect kind of property for that area. And I often have young attorneys, candidate attorneys staying there and so forth. And I've had the property for about 10 years now. And at the moment, in 2019, my son is just about to start grade 6. And I haven't done the numbers exactly, but I'm almost sure that the rental income covers his school fees already. So this property cost me 20,000 Rand. I had to put 20,000 Rand in because the market had changed a bit when I bought this property. And I wasn't able to buy a property where, as Sita is asking, can you get a cash flow neutral from day one? I didn't get that right with my son's property because the market had changed quite significantly. But I think I only paid in about 20,000 Rand. So I've effectively, for my son, I paid 20,000 Rand, and then I paid his school fees up to about grade 9-ish. And every year, progressively, this property is subsidized more and more of his school fees. So I'm expecting from grade 7 onwards, this property is going to pay for everything. It's going to pay for all his school fees every single year. When he gets to university, it's going to be enough to pay for the university. So again, my tenants have paid for my son's education. And I remember once or twice my boy, when I speak to him about this, and he said to me, "Dad, has my tenant paid?" He wants to know if his tenant's paid his rental. I've got a question here. Okay. Warren's asking, he's reminding me about how does what I'm doing now compare with education policies that insurance companies will sell. So, there might be a whole video in that, but actually they don't compare. It actually doesn't compare. The one is free or almost free, that's the way you're using buy-to-let property. And the other way, you're just paying and paying and paying and paying and paying, and then you basically, it's a savings account that matures at a certain period, and you hope that by the time your child hits university, that policy will pay out. So I hope that answers your question, Warren, but it doesn't compare. The one is almost free, and the other one you're just paying and paying and paying. So I'm going to just hang on for a little bit longer. Oh yes, Horatio agreeing with me. He says this is a great idea. It's better than the education policies. Horatio, yes, absolutely. But I actually discovered this whole using property to pay for your education in my first house when my daughters were in creche. I took my cottage. I was living out in an observatory. And I took my cottage, I had a double garage and the old-fashioned maid's room, and I converted it into a cottage. And in those days, that cost me 15,000 Rand to do the conversion. And it immediately, the rental income from it paid for both my children's creche. I thought, wow, for 15,000 Rand, I'm paying for the creche. And when they went to school, it was paying their school fees too. And it carried on until I sold that property in about 2000. That property paid their school fees the whole time. So it was amazing. This idea of using a buy-to-let property to pay for education rather than paying for it yourself or using a policy. When you take out one of these education policies, it's really it's a savings account. You're saving for something. And most people are so hard-pressed anyway just to pay the normal bills. How are you going to pay for school fees on top of school fees before you've actually got there? So most people who are busy saving for who've got some sort of education policy to pay for university, are currently paying school fees at the same time. So yes, there's no real comparison. So I'm going to sign off now. Again, if you want me to help you do the same thing, come to organicgrowth.co.za/coach, and we'll get you on the road. I'll show you how to do this for yourself. Thanks, bye-bye.